Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality, and motivation. I've just drunk an overpriced CBD-infused ginger sparkling water. I'm ready to go. This is Zestology. It's the podcast all about energy, vitality and motivation. Really like to record these podcast intros out and about, as you know, to kind of just do a bit more exercise and get out and about. And sometimes that means I record at kind of quite nice sounding locations. I live quite near the Thames, and there's, you know, sometimes kind of ducks quacking and birds flapping and the sounds of nature. And sometimes it just means I'm walking along a road, quite a busy road. And that's what's going on at the moment. But listen, thank you for listening to the podcast all about energy, vitality and motivation. Today, it's all about the mysterious blue pill that turns your tongue very blue that a lot of biohackers seem to be using. What is it? What does it do for you? And why might you be interested in it? Blue Cannatine is a nootropic designed and created by Dr Ted Achacoso, and it helps you with focus and energy and turns your tongue blue. It's pretty powerful actually, and contains a number of strong performance enhancers including nicotine, caffeine and methylene blue. So what is it? Is it safe? And what can it do for us? Dr. Ted is the founder of Troscriptions, which makes Blue Cannatine, and also the founder of a practice called Health Optimization Medicine, and he knows his stuff. And we start off by talking about the compound in the Blue Cannatine that turns your tongue blue.
Methylene Blue is an electron donor to complex 1. So it will basically build you a higher gradient, and therefore you can produce more ATP. So because you need to power up your brain, right? The second ingredient is Blue Cannatine. Everything is a name. Blue is for methylene blue. Ca is for caffeine, and it has 50 milligrams of caffeine. And caffeine, of course, is for your alertness. Everybody who has taken coffee would attest to that, right? And then Na is for cannabidiol, but it's hemp-derived CBD. And the reason for that is because I wanted to round out the sharpness that is being provided by the sharpness and feeling. You know, there's a certain jitteriness that can be provided by caffeine and nicotine, and that's why this is rounded out by CBD. And nicotine, as we know, works on your acetylcholine system, which is for your memory, especially for your short-term memory. You know, there are many scientific studies on using nicotine, and in fact, you know, it's essentially what's called the forgotten nootropic. So that's those are the ingredients. Blue Cannatine. Yeah. And I initially formulated it as a gum, and my friends liked it. First inquiring, you know, why I had a blue tongue and why I had good performances when I was either lecturing or I just fully jet lagged. And but when I said, well, okay, let's get it manufactured. When I tried to get it manufactured, you know, no, it has to be a confectioner because it's a food, right? And no one would touch it because it turned all of their equipment blue. So I reformulated it to a trochee, and it's a buccal trochee, and people often mistake it as sublingual, meaning under the tongue. It's not. You place it between your upper cheek and gum, and the reason for that is that you really don't want the saliva to dissolve it that quickly. it's closer to the circulatory system at the base of the brain, so you avoid the first pass effect of the liver, meaning you don't have to swallow a capsule,
Yeah.
and it has to be processed by the liver, so it avoids that, and it provides about 3 to 4 hours of what I call wide focus. And by wide focus, I mean you're able to take a look at your audience if you're lecturing, focus on your lecture at the same time, and take a look at your audience and adjust your
Fantastic.
presentation according to how your audience is responding,
Yeah.
right? And after that, and after that, I people actually asked me to develop just methylene blue alone because it just powers up the brain. So we came up with Just Blue, which is a pure methylene blue product, and the dose that I put in there. Remember, this is our pharmaceutical grade methylene blue, not your fish tank cleaner, right? So, because I'm trained in pharmacology, and I'd like to be able to be to position all of these things that I do as precision dosed products, right? We're not guessing what's in there. I formulate it according to what I know to be. It's true for drug production according to purity of the products and so on. So Just Blue is the dosage that I use there is actually that they are using for the study of Parkinson's, because I don't have a benchmark, right? But this is what I call a bright energy, meaning it doesn't have the caffeine, nicotine, and CBD. It just has methylene blue. And when you're making products or like for example a drink, people are expecting a sensorial cue, meaning they want a kick, right? So Blue Cannatine has that kick, but Just Blue will just have that bright focus that just sort of like brightens your perception,
Right. Yeah.
and increases your brain energy. But my warning to people really always is optimize your micronutrients in your cells first, optimize your neurotransmitters and so on before taking any nootropic, in fact, because then your system will recover a lot faster from the stress of putting in a nootropic. And my definition of a nootropic anyway is first, it must be brain protective, right? Before it actually overclocks your system.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at that. So Tony, go ahead.
I want to delve in a little bit more on what you were saying and start with the methylene blue, because I've been trying it over the last few days, the Troscriptions, the Blue Cannatine, and it's very enjoyable. I've only had a half at a time of one of your little squares, so I cut it in half and I've had that, and it works pretty well. But and I have to say, because I work in TV at a sports channel in the UK, but I can't do it before then because my tongue would be blue if I went on screen, and there'd be too many questions to answer. So I'm not going to be doing that.
Blue is the new smart. That's the answer.
That is true. That is true. But I won't be able to say that on screen. It'll all get very complicated. It's a news channel. I'll be very messy. So what is this magic ingredient? Because everybody in this kind of health and biohacking community absolutely loves your Blue Cannatine. But I've not really heard of methylene blue much before.
Yes. Methylene blue is actually a drug that's used in a medical emergency called methemoglobinemia, right? Which happens when you have carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's an IV. It's a it's in an ampule, and what they use is actually what's called leucomethylene blue, right? And that's injected IV in order to, of course, displace the carbon monoxide from the hemoglobin that forms methemoglobin, so you could recover from it. But it has already been used before in the early 1900s. There used to be lozenges of methylene blue, and when you would have, for example, sore throat or any sign that you were getting into a respiratory infection, they would just give you this lozenges, which turns your tongue blue. It turns your pee blue, right? It was also used for since it's passes through your ureters, from your kidneys to your ureters before you pee it out blue. It also serves as something that they give for urinary tract infections, right? And of course, people who own aquaria would know this. It's an antifungal.
Yeah, that puts me off a bit. Ted,
Yeah.
the fish tank bit was the one that I was like, hang on a second.
Yes, but that's the one that they use in the fish tank is not pharmacological grade. Okay, that's not what you use for. That's not what we use. That's not what you use for the creation of this supplement. You have to use pharmaceutical grade methylene blue, and in terms of methylene blue. As you know, in health optimization medicine and practice, we are actually one of the pillars of that is the mitochondria, and in a field called bioenergetics, right? It's funny, Tony, when you Google bioenergetics, so it will come out is chakra balancing. But bioenergetics really, in scientific terms, refers to the functioning of mitochondria. And that's where I am actually looking at methylene blue to provide a source of electrons that your mitochondria can use to form the gradient, right? And what it does, it's an electron donor, right? It donates electrons to the mitochondria such that your gradient is higher to produce energy for your cell.
Yeah. Now, nicotine's an interesting one. It's not the first time I've tried nicotine, and I think Dave Asprey kind of egged me on to do it a few times. But it's worth repeating the question here because I know a lot of people might want to ask it. We're kind of so brought up associating nicotine with bad stuff and bad health effects.
Yes.
Yes. That's not necessarily the case, is it?
No, it's actually not. Especially, it's very funny. The product only has like 1 milligram of nicotine, right? And we essentially limit you to 4 a day, which is 4 milligrams. You can buy from your drugstore 120 of this gum at 4 milligrams each, and so the bad rap actually has come from smoking. Of nicotine has come from smoking, right? You inhale all the particles. There was even, in fact, one study that showed that what was addicting was the smoke that was, they gave essentially water to rats. One was smoke that smoked with cigarette smoke, right? The water was run through cigarette smoke, and the other one was pure nicotine. And of course, the rats preferred the one that was run through cigarette smoke, and that was what they got addicted to. So there are other ingredients in cigarettes that can get you addicted, right? So it's gotten a bad rap because, well, smoking, aside from all the things that they do to your mouth and throat and lungs, right? But this one is isolating a nicotine by itself, and this is synthetic nicotine. It's actually not coming from the plant because we're forbidden to do that, right? This is synthetic nicotine is similar. It's same in structure as the actual nicotine, but by law, we can't use the one in tobacco. So it's kind of like the CBD that we use cannot come from the cannabis plant. It has to come from hemp. These are the kinds of things that you come across with the same molecules but coming from different sources. But nicotine itself affects what's called the acetylcholine system, and what it does is it actually affects the receptors, right, for acetylcholine. So it's good when you're working. Your brain stores the variables temporarily in what's called a temporary workspace called short-term memory. and that's what you use. You draw upon that workspace, and it's acetylcholine. That's the actual neurotransmitter that actually holds of those things in place.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you can do for your memory, for your listeners, is you can take an acetylcholine, also take an acetylcholine supplement, right? If it's warranted for you. There are many formulations of acetylcholine out there. There's also a plant that essentially inhibits the degradation of your acetylcholine. It's called huperzine, and it's marketed as huperzine A. So there are many ways of raising your acetylcholine, but nicotine does it in a very fast way, right? And it's dose dependent, and it's highly predictable that it will provide you those levels of acetylcholine for your working memory. So if you need to boost your memory at that point in time, nicotine will do it for you.
Very good. Yeah. Just a quick reminder that this podcast is brought to you by Magnesium Breakthrough. Did you know there's one phase of sleep that almost everybody fails to get enough of? And this one phase of sleep is the most important one. It's important for rejuvenation and repair, controlling hunger, weight loss hormones as well, even boosting energy. And this podcast is all about energy. And I'm talking about the deep sleep phase, which apparently almost all of us don't get enough of. I measure it every night on my Oura ring, and I get very frustrated when I haven't had enough. If you don't get enough deep sleep, you'll probably struggle with cravings and slow metabolism, and maybe even premature aging as well. And a big reason for not getting enough deep sleep is magnesium deficiency. Over 80% of the population are deficient in magnesium. That is why I always supplement with magnesium. Every day. Magnesium Breakthrough. It increases GABA, which encourages relaxation at a cellular level. And I've known for a long time that it just helps me sleep better. Take magnesium in the evening, take a magnesium supplement, it helps you sleep better. Now, before you go out and buy a magnesium supplement, it's important to understand that not all magnesium products are created equal. And in reality, your body needs all 7 forms of magnesium, especially when it comes to sleep, and that is why Magnesium Breakthrough are our podcast partners, and that is why I take Magnesium Breakthrough. I'm taking it every day. Funnily enough, my deep sleep scores on the Oura Ring are better than ever before, so I'm quite pleased with that. I don't want to humbly brag too much, but up to about 2.5 hours of deep sleep every day on the Oura Ring. So, if you would like to try Magnesium Breakthrough, they offer a 365-day money-back guarantee, free shipping on selected orders as well, and you can get 10% off Magnesium Breakthrough by using the code ZESTOLOGY10. So, 10% off Magnesium Breakthrough by using the code ZESTOLOGY10. It is the best aid I know for boosting deep sleep. Make sure you go to bioptimizers.co.uk, use the code Zestology10. You can go to bioptimizers.com if you're anywhere else in the world, use the same code, and Zestology10 will help you with your sleep, help you create more GABA, and help you to encourage relaxation at a cellular level. Right, back to the show. One of the ones that you haven't put in this supplement, I'm sure there's plenty of stuff you could have put in. I've been using Ltheanine a lot recently. Is that something you've got involved with much? Because I love that. I think it's great.
I prefer to use to put L-theanine in an evening pack because it relaxes you, right? And you can combine it. It's for me, it's more of a relaxing agent. It increases blood flow, of course, to the brain. You can combine that with magnesium, which also can decrease your blood pressure at the same time, increase your cerebral blood flow, and makes you feel more relaxed. And it's actually very useful for people with anxiety, right? Theanine. I usually don't like taking theanine during daytime because it relaxes me way too much.
Yeah.
Right. For
me, I think it just brings me down from kind of super hyper alert to kind of normal levels. So I like it.
Yes, that's good. Every person has a different sort of like combination of
Yeah.
neurotransmitters, right? So it means that your epinephrine levels are very high,
Right.
and
Yeah.
in the brain, your epinephrine is actually coming in from dopamine, which is your focus molecule. And for some people with very high dopamine levels, they can focus very well. But dopamine is also the molecule of the ego or the self-referential system. So people with very high dopamine, you could see, can also have a lot of self-referential things when they talk, right? And but other people are unlucky, even if they have high dopamine levels, they have a fast conversion into norepinephrine and epinephrine, so they are alert, right? They're very alert. They're very high strung, but unable to focus. So you could see that the conversion there is very, very fast. Now, if your client, for example, that you're health optimizing is an athlete, and you see that your athlete isn't able to focus but has a lot of energy, you probably can surmise, and you can test for this, that his dopamine levels are actually low and his epinephrine, norepinephrine levels are very high.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
fascinating. I mean, I wish you were my doctor growing up, because, if I look back over my exam results, for example, and all my school reports said exactly that. He's got loads of energy. He can't focus. And because of that, they thought I was bone idle, but I'm not bone idle. I just struggle to focus. So perhaps so what you were just talking about resonated pretty
Yes.
strongly.
Yeah, I have, I usually don't take patients and clients less than 30 years old, but lately, a referral of referrals, Dr. Ted, can you please take this patient or client from me? And they're getting younger and younger. And I see them with attention deficit disorder, and they are actually being given lots of drugs for it. So, while I don't take the drugs off myself, I actually talk to the attending physician about those drugs, about the possibility of decreasing them. But the first thing that I do is I balance out their intracellular metabolites, right? I test whether or not they need vitamin B, they need vitamin C, E, whatever. They need their micronutrients, because you can measure those now. And then once those are optimized, then I start giving them, and they need to boost, then I start giving them the likes of Blue Cannatine or other nootropics that can help them, for example, focus for an exam, and so on. One of the that I call him a kid, but that I'm proud of is actually a 19-year-old that is actually going to University of Edinburgh this fall. But he was diagnosed bipolar, right? And simply by doing optimization of his metabolites, and then giving him, the appropriate brain boosting agents, like acetylcholine, huperzine, for memory. There's a plant
It's
called
amazing.
the Mucuna pruriens, right? That's for dopamine. In 3 years, he wasn't manifesting any of that. Now, I don't have any claims, right? All I do is to detect and correct imbalances. I don't claim to treat bipolar. I don't claim to treat. Those are anything beneficial that inures to me is to you as a client or patient is just a beneficial side effect. The ones with a claim for those are those that issue drugs, right? I'm all after health and health optimization, and the framework that I created is actually for you to be able to hang all of your hacks into a logical framework where you could help yourself and help other people. And Blue Cannatine is one of those hacks where you can hang on.
Dr. Ted, you're getting so excited. You're playing with your mic, throwing your microphone around.
I know. I hit my microphone. Now, is a Blue Cannatine, for example, is a hack that you can hang on. Optimization of your brain neurotransmitters.
And
So,
this is, I mean, this must be the invention of a lifetime for you. I mean, it's doing incredibly well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, it's actually what I thought is like, well, yeah, friends and family liked it. Let me just, put it out there, get it manufactured. I thought it was going to be the loss leader for the company, because the company that I have, which is Smarter Not Harder, right?
And is it your company then? Is it your company that makes the formulation?
Yeah,
That's great.
And Troscriptions is the brand, right? So this is the first product, and the second product is just Blue, and then coming up with dispensary type products. This will now contain THC, and this will be for pain, insomnia, anxiety, and so on. And the reason for this, Tony, is really very simple. I have a nonprofit, homehope.org, which teaches health practitioners and doctors how to balance your metabolites inside the body, right? And that has to be that needs money, and therefore the money is coming from the for-profit, which is Smarter Not Harder Inc., and the Troscriptions brand of products. So when you buy this product, the majority of the proceeds actually goes to creating the modules. We have an online course on how to do health optimization in your clients or your patients.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, many congratulations on all of that. Yeah, that's really great. And
Thank you.
And it is fun. It's fun taking it, and I'm going to investigate it some more. But I'd like one that doesn't turn your tongue blue, just so I can use it at work as well. But we can get there on that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of elements, a lot of strands to your career. But what is one book that you would recommend, and one tip for living with more energy and vitality?
Okay. One book that I recommend is actually Rolf Dobley, The Art of Thinking Clearly. And it's about the cognitive biases that we hold. And, there are over 200, Wikipedia has a complete set of it, but his book actually has a story for each one of them. And one of an example that I like there is, the swimmer's build illusion. And it talks of the mathematician Nassim Taleb, right? The author of The Black Swan. He said he wanted to go swimming because he wanted to have a swimmer's build, right? And it's actually the opposite. People actually swim well because they already have a swimmer's build,
right,
and not the other way around.
Right.
So these are and the corollary to that is another example. Is Harvard, a great school, right? And turns out, well, it's probably not that great. It's actually their students that are great. When they select the students, they have a great selection process, and the education is probably just the same as everywhere else. So these are the kinds of, the reason why I like this book a lot, Tony, is that it shows how we are programmed, right? Our brain takes a lot of shortcuts, and we should be aware of those shortcuts. So in order to be able to think clearly, we should be aware that we are subject to all of these cognitive biases, right? That are programmed to us by evolution.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my book recommendation, and that actually can help a lot of people.
Yeah. And then what about one tip for living with more energy, vitality? And I particularly like the stuff you were talking about with focus just a few moments ago as well. So, if you've got anything for focus, that's something that I work on pretty hard, actually.
Well, if you want focus, the neurotransmitter for focus is actually dopamine, but it's a double-edged sword, right? It's also the molecule for addiction. And so, as I said,
I've definitely got a bit of that.
if you're going to do something for addiction, for dopamine, to raise your dopamine levels, you can take, for example, mucuna pruriens, which is I think a bean. But you take it only 3 times a week, because when you raise dopamine levels in your body, as you do, for example, when you take cocaine, it raises dopamine by 4,000%, right? It actually decreases the number of receptors, because the body will try to compensate and say this is too much, and will make your dopaminergic system unresponsive. So that's the remember that anything that you do to boost your brain will be a two-edged sword. one way or the other.
Yeah.
But that's on a practical level. But on an even more practical level, my one tip is really to mind your lifestyle. As I said, which is what I'm known for. I say sleep well, hydrate well, eat well, move well, breathe well, sun well, ground well, and love well. Knowing that all of these things can be measured now, and so all of this, so you can reproduce well. I'm kidding. That's another.
It's hard to measure loving well as well, but that is a great list. And actually, just on that theme, I suppose the final question or a relevant question would be that some people would say, look, this whole idea with Blue Cannatine, why is it needed? Why can't we just rely on what we've got? Why do you have to artificially boost your levels of focus or your wide focus, as you called it? Why can't we just rely on what God gave us?
Yes, because we have created a world that's actually an ADHD environment, right? We live very, very fast lives, and sometimes we don't know why. We have created a world that's no longer. It's like we have a Ford Model T, and the world that we have created is actually a world made for Teslas.
Yeah.
Right. So our body is a Ford Model T, and we, what we do is we do all of this, take on the paleo diet, do everything that is for the make and model of our body, of our car. But, you could put in, a fuel additive in there every so often to make sure that your body performs more efficiently. Or you could add some brighter headlights to it, and so on. And that's for me but for example, if you add brighter headlights and you're able to focus more clearly, right, that will clearly require more energy, and so forth. So it makes you function better in an ADHD world. It makes you focus a lot better, but also gives you this insight that to take a look at exactly how you're living your life, and and that every so often you need to boost your focus in order to do what you want to do. But the question also comes back to you and say, do I really have to do it this much? Right? Or is this really what I want to do? And these things come back to, again, the lives that we live and how hectic they are.
Yes, absolutely. And how good you are at loving and reproducing. Thank you, Dr. Ted. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's fascinating to talk to you. Obviously, Blue Cannatine is quite easy to find online. Where can people find out more about you and everything we've talked about today?
Yes, for the nonprofit, it's at homehope.org. And for Blue Cannatine, you can go to Troscriptions.com. Our company is snhlife.com. And at Instagram, we're at Troscriptions. Yeah. And we have a distributor I saw in your website, we do have a distributor in the UK.
Yes, that's my friend. That's my friend. Pure Health Supplements. She's absolutely loving it. So yeah, I'll put her details in at the end as well.
Yes, and we just had some shipped to Germany as well.
Great.
So
great.
Yes.
Okay. Well, about half the listeners to this podcast are in the UK and half in the US. So we will send people in the relevant directions. Dr. Ted, great to talk to you, and hopefully chat again soon.
Thank you.
That is it. Thank you to Dr. Ted. If you want to buy a Blue Cannatine in the UK, do head to Pure Health Supplements. Find them online, and they sell it. And do you know what? I'm kind of doing a day of podcast stuff. I might just pop a Blue Cannatine a little bit later on. It's quite fun, isn't it? And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Now, a quick reminder that this podcast is brought to you by my podcast partners, Bioptimizers and Magnesium Breakthrough, and this month focusing specifically on the benefit that you get from magnesium and sleep. Before I started taking Magnesium Breakthrough, I used to basically just supplement with spray, so magnesium spray. Get it on Amazon, just a bog standard brand, spray it on, and that was it. Now I've upped my magnesium dosage, and I think that's quite important during summer, during hot weather, if you're using the sauna, if you're someone who's very active, and it's great for sleep as well, and for deep sleep, the phase of sleep responsible for most of your body's daily rejuvenation and repair and weight loss and hormones and boosting energy. So Magnesium Breakthrough has 7 different forms of magnesium in it. It's a great complement to any other type of magnesium you're taking if you do take transdermal magnesium as well. And I just kind of feel like we can't really get enough magnesium in terms of easing those aching muscles and helping with sleep. So if you fancy trying it, you can use the code Zestology10. Head to bioptimizers.co.uk. That's the UK site. It's bioptimizers.co.uk. Use the code Zestology10, and if you're anywhere else in the world, you can just head to bioptimizers.com with a Z, and again use the code Zestology10. Let me know what you think of it as well. That is it. Thank you as always for listening to Zestology. Next time I'll probably record this podcast in a slightly more pleasant location than a busy road, but that's just the way it goes. Got to get the steps up. I've been trying to up my daily steps measured by the Oura ring to about 15,000, and it's surprising at the end of the day how many steps there are left sometimes. So really trying to factor in more walking into my day. I always feel better, and I think low level exercise, I don't know about you, but it just seems to suit me well doing a lot of walking. We went for a kind of 3.5 hour hike the other day, and I was knackered at the end of it, but I just felt so good afterwards, and I slept so well. I just think a lot of walking suits me. For some people it's kind of 4-hour gym sessions. For me it's a lot of walking, some gym sessions and some more intense workouts, but a lot of low level exercise. That is enough of my low level exercise and my low level ramblings. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to Zestology.